The Sneetches and Other Stories by Dr. Seuss. The Sneetches. Now the star belly Sneetches had bellies with stars, but the plain belly Sneetches had none upon theirs. Those stars weren't so big, they were really so small, you might think such a thing didn't matter at all. But because they had stars, all the star-belly Sneetches would brag, "We're the best kind of Sneetches on the beaches." With their snoots in the air, they would sniff and they'd snort, and they will have nothing to do with the plain belly snort. And whenever they met some when they were out walking, they hiked right on past them without even talking. And when the star-belly children went out to play ball, could a plain belly get in the game? Not at all. You could only play if your belly had stars, and the plain belly children had none upon theirs. And when the star-belly Sneetches had Frankfurter roast, or picnics, or parties, or marshmallow toast, they never invited the plain belly Sneetches. They left them out cold on the dark on the beaches of the beaches. They kept them away, never let them come near, and that's how they treated them year after year. Oh, those poor little Sneetches. They don't look very happy, do they? They were not very nice. Those star-belly Sneetches. Then one day, it seemed, while the plain belly Sneetches were moping and doping alone on the beaches, just sitting there wishing their bellies had stars, a stranger zipped up in the strangest of cars. "My friends," he announced in a voice clear and keen, "my name is Sylvester McMonkey McBean, and I've heard of your troubles. I've heard you're unhappy, but I can fix that. I'm the fix-it-up chappy. I've come here to help you. I have what you need, and my prices are low, and I work at great speed, and my work is 100% guaranteed." Then quickly Sylvester McMonkey McBean put together a very peculiar machine. And he said, "You want stars like the star-belly Sneetches? My friends, you can have them for $3 eaches. Just pay me your money and just hop right aboard." And they clambered inside, and the big machine roared, and it conked, and it bonked, and it barked, jerked, and it bopped them about, but the thing really worked. And when the plain belly Sneetches popped out, they had stars. They actually did. They had stars upon theirs. Then they yelled at the ones who had stars at the start, "We're exactly like you. You can't tell us apart. And now we can go to your Frankfurter parties." Oh, I messed up. I need to go back and reread. That's what happens when you make a mistake. You go back and reread. And they yelled at the ones who had stars at the start, "We're exactly like you. You can't tell us apart. We're all just the same now, you snooty old smarties, and now we can go to your Frankfurter parties." "Good grief," groaned the ones who had stars at the first. "We're still the best Sneetches, and they're still the worst. But now, how in the world will we know," they all frowned, "which one is what, or the other way around?" Then up came McBean with a very sly wink, and he said, "Things aren't quite as bad as you think. So you don't know who's who. That's perfectly true. But come with me, friends. Do you know what I'll do? I'll make you again the best Sneetches on beaches, and all it will cost you is $10 eaches. Wow, the price went up. Belly stars are no longer in style, said McBean. What you need is a trip through my star-off machine, and this wondrous contraption will take off your stars, and you won't look like Sneetches who have them on theirs. And that handy machine, working very precisely, removed all the stars from their bellies quite nicely. Then with their snoots in the air, they paraded about, and they opened up their beaks, and they let out a shout. We know who is who, and there isn't a doubt. The best kind of Sneetches are Sneetches without. Then, of course, those with stars got frightfully mad. To be wearing stars now was frightfully bad. Then, of course, old Sylvester McMonkey McBean invited them into his star-off machine. And then, of course, then on, as you probably guess, things got into a terrible mess. All the rest of that day on those wild, screaming beaches, the fix-it-up chappie kept fixing up Sneetches. Off again, on again, in again, out again. Through the machine they raced around and about again, changing their stars every moment or two. They kept paying money. They kept running through until neither the plane nor the Snarbellies knew whether this one was that one or that one was this one or this one was what one or what one was who. Boy, and look at him rolling in the money. Then, when every last cent of their money was spent, the fix-it-up chappie packed up and he went. And he laughed as he drove his car up the beach. They never will learn. No, you can't teach a Sneetch. But McBean was quite wrong, I'm quite happy to say, that Sneetches got really quite smart on that day. The day that they decided that Sneetches are Sneetches and no kind of Sneetch is the best on the beaches. That day all the Sneetches forgot about stars and whether or not they had one upon theirs. See, they made friends. They decided it didn't matter anymore. The Zacks. One day, making tracks in the prairie of Prax, came a north-going Zacks and a south-going Zacks. Oop, wrong way. Gotta know how to turn the page of the book. And it happened that both of them came to a place where they bumped. There they stood, foot to foot, face to face. Look here now, the north-going Zack said. I say, you're blocking my path. You're right in my way. I'm a north-going Zax, and I always go north. So let me get out of my way and let me go forth. Who's in whose way? Snapped the south-going Zax. I always go south, making south-going tracks. Now, so you're in my way, and I ask you to move and let me go south in my south-going groove. Then the north-going Zax puffed up his chest with pride. I never, he said, take a step to the side. And I'll prove to you that I won't change my ways if I have to keep standing here 59 days. And I'll prove to you, yelled the south-going Zacks, "that I can stand here in the prairie of Prax for 59 years, for I live by a rule that I learned as a boy back in south-going school. Never budge. That's my rule. Never budge in the least. Not an inch to the west, not an inch to the east. And I'll stay here. I am not budging. I can and I will if it makes you and me and the whole world stand still." Well, of course, the whole world didn't stand still. The world grew. And a couple of years, the new highway came through, and they built it right over those two stubborn Zacks, and they left them there standing unbudged in their tracks. Now, let me ask you this. Can you think of a way in which the north-going Zacks and the south-going Zacks could have been able to compromise and solve their problem without stepping an inch to the west or an inch to the east? Well, I'll tell you, Grammy has found a way, and that is, what if the north-going Zacks or the south-going Zacks bent down and then one of them jumped over the other? Then they both could have gotten in their way, but they got to the point where they couldn't solve their problem because they were so fixed on being right. And sometimes that's not the most important thing, is being right. Sometimes the most important thing is learning how to get along with somebody else. Too many Daves. Did I ever tell you Mrs. McCabe had 23 sons and she named them all Dave? Well, she did, and that wasn't a smart thing to do. You see, when she wants one and calls out, "Yoo-hoo, come into the house, Dave," she doesn't get one. All 23 Daves of hers come on the run. Although you have to give them credit. They're good kids if they're coming when their mother calls. I hope you're a good kid. This makes things quite difficult at the McCaves, as you can imagine, with so many Daves. And often she wishes that when they were born, she'd name one of them Boken Van Horn, and one of them Hoosfoos, and one of them Snims, and one of them Hotshot, and one Sunny Jim, one of them Shadrach, and one of them Blinky, and one of them Stuffy, and one of them Stinky, another Put-Put, another one Moonface, and another one Marvin O'Gravel Balloon Face. It's a weird one. And one of them Ziggy, and one Soggy Muff, and one Buffalo Bill, and one Biffalo Buff, and one of them Sneepy, and one Sweepy Weed, and one Paris Garter, and one Harris Tweed, and one of them Sir Michael Carmichael Zut, and another one Oliver Bolivar Butt, and one of them Zanzibar Buck McFate, but she didn't do it, and now it's too late. That's kind of a funny one, wasn't it? What was I scared of? Well, I was walking in the night, and I saw nothing scary, for I have never been afraid of anything, not very. There I was, deep in the woods, when suddenly I spied them. I saw a pair of pale green pants with nobody inside them. I wasn't scared, but yet I stopped. What could those pants be there for? What could a pair of pants at night be standing in the air for? And then they moved. Those empty pants, they kind of started jumping. And then my heart, I must admit, it kind of started thumping. So I got out. I got out fast as I could, sir. I wasn't scared, but pants like that I did not care for. No, sir. After that, a week went by. Then one dark night in Greenwich, I had to do an errand there and fetch some Greenwich spinach. Well, I had fetched the spinach, and I was starting back through town when those pants raced round the corner, and they almost knocked me down. I lost my Greenwich spinach, but I didn't even care. I ran for home. Believe me, I really had a scare. Now, bicycles were never made for Pelgrane pants to ride them, especially spooky Pelgrane pants with nobody inside them. On the next night, I was fishing for doubt trout on Rover River when those pants came rowing towards me. Well, I started to shiver, and by now I was so frightened that I'll tell you, but I hate to. I screamed and rode away and lost my hook, line, and bait too. I ran and found a brickle bush and hid myself away. I got brickles in my britches, but I stayed there anyway. I stayed all night, the next night too. I'd still be there, no doubt. But I had to do an errand, so the next night I went out. I had to do an errand. I had to pick a peck of snide in a dark and gloomy snide field that was almost 9 miles wide. I said, I do not fear those pants with nobody inside them. I said and said and said those words. I said them, but I lied them. Then I reached inside the snide bush, and the next thing that I knew, I felt my hand touch someone, and I'll bet that you know who. And there I was, caught in the snide, and in that dreadful place, those spooky empty pants and I were standing face to face. I yelled for help, I screamed, I shrieked, I howled, I yelled, I cried. Oh, save me from those Pelgrane pants with nobody inside. And then a strange thing happened. Why, those pants began to cry. Those pants began to tremble. They were just as scared as I. I had never heard such whimpering, and I began to see that I was just as strange to them as they were strange to me. I put my arms around their waist and sat right down beside them. I calmed them down, poor empty pants with nobody inside them. And now we meet quite often, those empty pants and I, and we never shake or tremble. We both smile and we say, hi. Yeah, I guess we always fear what we don't know. And that is the end of the Sneetches and Other Stories.